For those who are sitting at chairs, you may be seated. In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. Good afternoon. We gather today at a time of losing, a time of remembering. Thank you all for coming to bid farewell to Jackie Greenberg. And thank you for welcoming me into this holy and very sad moment. I'm Rabbi Rick Brody, the Baskin Jewish Community Chaplain at Jewish Family Service of Colorado. It's an honor to be here today, as it was to be at Jackie's bedside with her loving family last Thursday, a few days before she died, with prayers of peace, comfort, and closure, and to now guide Jackie's mourners, with whom I spent several meaningful hours yesterday through this difficult time. All of us here, and those watching on the live stream, enter now together into this ceremony of sacred recollection and joyful remembrance as we bestow a final act of kindness upon Jackie with a proper burial. There are still a few open seats. If you would like to sit, if you're going to need to sit, I invite you to make use of those seats. Who was Jackie Greenberg? As we will learn later in more detail from her children, she was a firecracker, a nonstop energizer bunny, a lifelong learner and a lifelong Democrat who loved reading, travel, adventure, the arts, snacks and desserts, meeting new people, and nurturing existing friendships for a lifetime. Who raised 4 children, mostly on her own, whom she loved dearly and was extremely proud of, and who was a staunch political activist who never stopped advocating for those with less, who needed empowering, particularly women. Before we hear more about those and many other qualities, I'll offer this brief biographical sketch, the facts of Jackie's life. She was born Jacqueline Kornhauser, the younger child of Harry and Anne Kornhauser, joining brother Arnold, who was 7 years older, in the Bronx, New York, on December 28th, 1935, the second day of the month of Tevet, in the year 5705 on the Hebrew calendar, the 8th day of Hanukkah. She was always known as Jackie. It's not clear if she was given a Hebrew name at birth, but when she celebrated a bat mitzvah ceremony at the Western Wall in Jerusalem 28 years ago, she did so with the name Yaakova bat Heschel v'Chana. Jackie died this past Sunday, March 3rd, 2024, the 23rd of Adar Aleph, 5784, at Brookdale Greenwood Village, where she lived for her final 13 days. Jackie had a tough childhood, but her memories of it that she shared with her children over the years suggest that she made the best of a difficult situation and held on to what was good. She always recalled how, at the age of 5, sitting on the bed with her dad, he taught her to read, a gift from him that she cherished for the rest of her life and passed on to everyone she could. She remembered playing hopscotch, jump rope, and jacks, and enjoying phosphate soda from the old drugstore soda fountains. Years later, she loved drinking cream soda. When Jackie was 10, Harry was diagnosed with tuberculosis and was sent to the National Jewish Hospital in Denver, now National Jewish Health, which was already a renowned center for treatment of this illness. Older brother Arnold was finishing high school and joined the Navy. Jackie and her mother followed Harry here, arriving in Denver on a train called the Zephyr. Anne had to support the family, working long hours, and placed young Jackie in the Jewish Home, a residential facility at 20th and Julian by Sloan's Lake, for children whose parents were unable to care for them. Anne would come by on weekends and take Jackie on the bus into downtown Denver. Jackie attended Lake Junior High School and then North High School. Her closest friends from the home were Ronnie and Rachel, and she stayed close with them both throughout her life. When Jackie was 16, her brother had her live with him and his wife Margie in Hawaii, where she attended Roosevelt High School. A year later, Arnold and Margie moved to Waldorf, Maryland, taking Jackie with them. She graduated from high school there in 1953. She wasn't happy about being apart from her Denver friends and would have preferred finishing high school here with them. She earned a scholarship to DU and returned to Denver to study English literature. In that first year of college, a relationship with Mort Flax led to a wedding in 1954, and in 1955, Jackie and Mort's first son, Jeff, was born. From that point forward, Jackie was a stay-at-home mom, always wishing she could have finished college. After a brief stay at Fort Knox, Kentucky, as part of Mort's basic training connected to his ROTC program, the family returned to Denver and grew. Wendy was born in 1956, Doug in 1961, and then Stacy in 1967. They lived on Magnolia Street on the east side. They belonged to Congregation Rodef Shalom, where the children all received their religious education and celebrated becoming bar or bat mitzvah. The kids attended George Washington High School. Jackie did the heavy lifting of the parenting, taking them to all their activities, Cub Scouts, for which she was a den leader, the JCC, the Virginia Vale Pool, all their games. She would come to each kid's school to have lunch with them on their birthday. And every night included, for some, reading the newspaper together and discussing the issues of the day. Always, for each child, reading a book and playing a board game. Jackie's difficult marriage to Mort ended in divorce in 1973. At that time, Jackie needed to go out and earn a living to support the family. They moved into a townhouse at Oneida and Leetsdale, and Jackie got a job. She was an administrative assistant at Thomas Jefferson High School. But Jackie had been really active in politics. Through her political connections, she got a job at the state unemployment office and was a state employee for the rest of her working days, building up a good pension by the time she retired. Shortly into her time with the unemployment office, Jackie was encouraged to apply for a job in the administration of the new governor, Dick Lamb, who began his 12-year tenure in 1975. And Jackie was hired as the unemployment ombudsman, the liaison between the governor's office and the unemployment office, a position she held for about 10 or 11 years. This relationship with the Lamb family endured, and we are honored to have former First Lady of the state of Colorado, Dottie Lamb, with us here today. Welcome, Dottie. In the late 70s, Jackie was set up at a singles party with an electrician named Sid Greenberg. Sid became the love of Jackie's life. They dated for about 4 or 5 years, and then they were married on May 6, 1984, at Grant Humphrey's mansion in a ceremony officiated by Rabbi Rick Shapiro of the Aurora Community Synagogue, where Sid and Jackie were involved. Governor Lamb declared Jackie Greenberg Day in honor of their wedding. The family moved to Aurora into a townhouse on South Lawn. Sid had a zest for life and got Jackie doing things she hadn't done before. They would play doubles tennis with a pair of friends. They traveled. Sid loved TV. Every night he would watch Hill Street Blues, and Jackie, who used to say she never watched TV, would watch with him because it was time together. They were happy. And with Stacy still at home, Sid became her dad. Tragically, only 2 years into their marriage in 1986, Sid suffered a heart attack and died, a loss that devastated Jackie. After a period of being quite down, Jackie regained her spirit. In 1989, she sold the townhouse where she and Sid had been living and moved into a condo in Southeast Denver, where she lived till 2013. Jackie dedicated the next chapter of her life to being, quote, the Jackie years, leaning more deeply into her friendships, travel, activism, and learning. After her service to the Lamb administration, Jackie worked for the Workmen's Comp office as an underwriter and stayed with that office after it was privatized under the company name Pinnacle, and retired from there a little before turning 65, around the year 2000. During her retirement, Jackie took lots and lots of classes through Ali. She spent time attending the Buddhist temple. She belonged to the UU Church for a couple of years and even attended some Catholic services, but found them too religious. She lived in San Miguel, Mexico for a year with a friend and enjoyed other memorable trips and adventures that we might hear about later. After returning from Mexico and briefly living at Brookdale at Tamarack and Hampton, Jackie moved into Kavod Senior Life, where she resided for about 6 or 7 years. Her health was declining at this point. She started using a walker and began attending fewer activities, although she remained committed to her book club. There was always a book club. When COVID hit, the isolation had a very negative impact on Jackie. As her children put it, her world shrunk. She also had knee and shoulder replacements during that time, with increasing aches and pains from arthritis. In February of last year, Wendy moved her mom closer to her into an assisted living in Westminster and stepped even more deeply into the role of caregiver. A pair of strokes over the past few months caused significant, eventually irreparable damage, including to Jackie's vision and ultimately to her will to live, eventually leading to her being in hospice care and residing at Brookdale, Greenwood Village for her final days, where she died peacefully after a rich life of 88 years. She is being laid to rest here next to her beloved Sid, and will be remembered by her loving family who have gathered here to fulfill their final obligations to her through this service and burial. From them, we will learn even more about the meaningful impact Jackie had on them and so many, about her resilience, her deeply held values, her love of life. Jackie's mourners are her children, her son, Jeff Flax, and Jeff's wife, Becky Flax. Becky's daughter, Annie Bouquet, and her husband, Mike Bouquet, and their daughter, Becky's granddaughter, Avery Bouquet, are not present today. Jackie's daughter, Wendy Flax, and Wendy's wife, Melanie Fisher. Wendy's daughter, Jackie's granddaughter, Debbie Flax, and Wendy's son, Jackie's grandson, Adam Koash, are not in attendance. We welcome Jackie's great-grandchildren, Zion and Nyla Valadez, and their father, Jackie's grandson, Ian Valadez, and Wendy and Melanie's daughter, Jackie's granddaughter, Alana Copeland. Alana's husband, Aaron Copeland, and her children, Jackie's great-grandchildren, Ray Willingham and Silas Goodwin, are not present today. Jackie's son, Doug Flax, and his wife, Dina Flax. And Jackie's daughter, Stacy Titans, and her husband, Michael Titans, who were here from Dallas. Their son, Jackie's grandson, Josh, who was here over the weekend, is currently in college, taking midterms at Washington University in St. Louis. All of us gathered today are here to support the next of kin mourners and their partners and children as they fulfill the mitzvah, the sacred obligation to provide a dignified burial for their mother and grandmother, returning Jackie's body to the earth from which we all come, an act of chesed shel emet, a kindness of pure truth that cannot be repaid by the deceased and is thus performed with complete selflessness and love. So we recognize and thank everyone for coming here today to pay tribute to Jackie's life and to support her mourners at this difficult time. We also, all of us, play a sacred role ourselves in the mitzvah of kavod hamet, the honoring of the deceased, which we will fulfill by listening to those who will speak kindly about Jackie's life, her joys, her passions, her virtues and character, her accomplishments, her loving devotion to her family, as we collectively express gratitude for Jackie's presence on this earth for these 88 years. An additional way to honor Jackie's memory is to make gifts in her name to the Denver Art Museum or to Jewish Family Service. We embrace the memories Jackie crafted for us, with relief knowing that she died peacefully and free of suffering, and with sadness that her journey among the living and her ability to fashion new memories going forward has come to its end. Yet with the firm knowledge that her legacy will endure in so many ways, and that her memory will be a blessing. The time of mourning is a complicated time, filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We continue our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Jackie's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. From Psalm 15. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai mi yagor b'ohalecha, v'yishkon b'har kodshecha. A Psalm of David. Do we deserve to enter God's sanctuary? Can we merit a place in the presence of God? Live with integrity. Do what is right. Speak the truth without deceit. Have no slander upon your tongue. Do no evil to others. Do not mistreat your neighbor. Spurn a contemptible person, but honor those who revere the Eternal One. Never retract a promise once made, though it may bring you harm. Lend no money at unfair rates. Accept no bribe against the innocent. Make these deeds your own. Then shall you stand firm forever. עושה אלה לא ימות לעולם. From Psalm 33. אין המלך נושע ברוב חיים, גיבור לא ינצל ברוב כוח. A monarch is not delivered by a large force. A warrior is not saved by great strength. A horse is a false hope for deliverance. For all its great power, it provides no escape. Truly, the eye of the eternal is on those who revere, who wait for God's faithful care to save them from death, to sustain them from famine. We set our hope in the eternal, our help and shield. In God, our hearts rejoice. In God's holy name, we trust. May we enjoy, eternal, your faithful care as we have hope in you. The 23rd Psalm. I'll recite it in English. If you know it, I invite you to join with me. I'll then chant it in Hebrew. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar. Bihinot deshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleni. Nafshi yeshoveh, nafshi yeshoveh. Yancheni v'maglei tzedek l'man shemo. Gam ki eleh b'geitz ha'mavet lo yirara ki ata imadi shivtecha umishantecha. Shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, neged tzorerai. Dishanta v'shemen roshi, dishanta v'shemen roshi. Dishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi rivaya. Ach tov v'chesed, yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. Yada-dai-dai-dai-dai, yada-dai-dai-dai-dai, yada-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, yada-da-dai, yada-dai-dai-dai, yada-dai-dai-dai, yada-dai-dai-dai. We now have the opportunity to hear heartfelt words of reflection, memories, eulogies from Jackie's children. We'll start with Stacy.
It is my honor to say a few words about my mom, Jackie Greenberg. It is so hard to find the words to say something about someone who has been with me for my entire life, and I could never really imagine a time when she would no longer be with us. She was always there, and somehow, even if you knew it was not possible, your heart always wanted to think she would live forever. My stepdad, Sid Greenberg, was the love of her life and the greatest gift to our family. They loved movies, Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile. There was a quote from Michael Douglas calling Kathleen Turner character Just Joan. So Sid started calling my mom Just Jackie. They both had a wonderful sense of humor and were very quick-witted. So Just Jackie, this one's for you. My mom did not have the easiest life growing up, yet she still found a way to fill her heart with gratitude and positivity. I admired that piece of her character. No matter what life gave to her, she always bounced back and found ways to persevere even in difficult times. Perhaps that is also what shaped Jackie into a firecracker, and her favorite color was red. As one of her closest friends recently shared, you always knew what Jackie thought. She was never shy of an opinion and told it like it was. You always knew where you stood, and if you disagreed, she shared why she thought she was right. Stacy, my doctor told me a few cigarettes a day were fine. Mom, I'm not sure that's exactly what the doctor told you. My mom could drive us all crazy with her passions. Some of her most recent ones including sending nonstop texts about a certain politician running for president, her constant worrying about the state of the world, and wanting to know that we were all healthy and okay. I pleaded with her not to watch MSNBC 24/7, but she refused. Oh, Jackie, it was just one of the things that made you special and why we all loved you. She wanted to make a difference in the world. She believed the world could be a better place. She saw a world where you could be proud to be Jewish and that anti-Semitism would no longer exist. She saw a world where women could have any kind of profession. My mom was fiercely passionate about women's rights and believed there was nothing that a woman could not do. I am grateful for her passion and fighting for what she believed in. I never questioned what I could do for a living. I experienced a world of equality that she fought for. My mom drilled into my head about the importance of being self-sufficient and not being dependent on someone else for my livelihood. Thank you, Mom. My mom always referred to her kids as the oldest, the middle, the youngest, and the only. I was the only. I spent my teenage years with none of my siblings in the house. Being the baby or the only child of the family had its advantages. I rarely got in trouble, and even if I should have gotten in trouble, she was worn out after raising 3 kids. Special thanks to my siblings, Jeff, Wendy, and Doug, for making her more mellow by the time I came along. Plus, I was a baby in the family, so what could I possibly do wrong? And I was super cute. I remember in middle school, a teacher called to talk to her about my schoolwork or missing a homework assignment. Somehow, she hung up, being upset with the teacher and not with me. She was fiercely protective over me, and she would say, Stacy could never do anything wrong. Thank you, Sid, for not sharing the times when I was less than perfect with her, like taking a car out when your parents were asleep to go see friends and jam out to Prince in the car. And she loved spoiling me. Thank you, Mom, for always doing my laundry, even when I was in college. Her friends always used to joke, Jackie, at some point, she will need to do her own laundry. And she would just shrug. I really don't remember fighting with her when I was growing up. I never got grounded. Did I mention I was the baby of the family? And when Sid would get upset that I dumped my stuff by the front door, shoes, backpack, coat, she would say, oh, she's just a teenager. There was one golden rule, was not to be late. She did not mind if I was going to miss my curfew. She just needed to know. That was one of the things that made her the cool mom. Along with being allowed to eat Oreos just before dinner was about to be on the table. Sorry, Mom, I did not get your gene about being on time. According to Jackie, if you were not somewhere 10 minutes early, you were late. She always wanted to respect other people's time. Even being the baby did not get me out of this one. My mom always wanted her children to be happy and settled. It filled her with joy to know that we were all happily married. She loved Michael and welcomed him into the family. My mom came to visit us often in Dallas and always brought a book or three for each one of us. She and Michael loved talking about the books they were reading, and it always made her smile to know that Michael was in a book club for feminist books. She truly adored her grandson Josh and loved spending time with him. My mom saved the day when Josh was a newborn and would not stop crying. My mom said, "Turn on the vacuum," like a magic switch. The vacuum would turn on and the crying stopped instantly. I don't know how she knew that it would work, but it was a lifesaver. She loved spending time with him and seemed in awe of everything he did. She always made him feel so special and truly excited about whatever he was into. What grandparent would not want to learn about every single type of construction vehicle and sit at construction sites for hours watching front loaders? One of her favorite games to play with him when she came to visit, he would pretend to be invisible, sitting on the couch or a chair or the bed, and my mom would go to sit down and say, "Oh my, this better chair is so lumpy," and then they would both burst into laughter. Mom, you always made him laugh and contributed greatly to his sense of humor. One of my favorite memories is the trip she took with me and Josh to London. Josh was obsessed with military history, and my mom said, "Let's do everything he would love." I'm not sure she knew exactly what she got herself into, but she always loved a good museum, and the British Military Museum did not disappoint. Who would not want to learn about every British battle and war for hundreds of years? My mom was a kind person and an outgoing person. My friends always said that she was nice and made them feel special. She never met a stranger and always wanted to learn about their lives. We used to joke my mom could talk to a brick wall. I'm always going to remember the woman who was fearless in traveling the world in her 60s and 70s when she traveled to China and Russia and Africa. I hope that I got my mom's good genes and I would always look younger than my actual age. Even in her final days, she had great hair and beautiful skin. I hope that I always remember to be kind to people because kindness matters. I hope that I always find a way to show gratitude and remember that tomorrow is a new day. I hope that I will always cherish my friendships as my mom did with her best friends for decades. Thank you, Jackie, for loving all of us and always believing in us and being proud of us. We will miss you and you will be in our hearts forever. My biggest prayer is that just Jackie is being reunited with Sid and feels safe and at peace. Love you, Mom.
Thank you, Stacy, for those beautiful words. We now call up Jackie's firstborn child, her older son, Jeff Flax.
I can't possibly, very hard act to follow, and particularly with Stacy. I'm blown away after she said everything I've been thinking. Stacy mentioned about being late. Mom, I wasn't late. For once, I wasn't. My mom did her best and lived life to the fullest. I want to thank you for bringing me into the world, giving me support, teaching me sarcasm, encouragement, a zest for education, reading, politics. It really formed who I am, and I can't imagine who I am, who I would have been without that encouragement and gentle push. I do want to follow up on Stacy's comment about easy life and wearing her out. I think I wore her out a lot. So you're welcome. I'm absolutely in awe of learning the family stories. It's been really interesting for me the last few days. I thought I knew a lot about her life. It turns out I didn't. There's a real irony in all of this. My mother made the three of us, Stacy wasn't here most of the time, we'd go out to breakfast with her on our birthdays, which always was somewhat frustrating. We'd go to noisy restaurants. It was hard to hear. She'd start a conversation with somebody behind her, with somebody she knew. That's what the conversation turned into. But a lot of the conversation, a lot of her drive in this, her position in this was that she was really concerned that after she died, that the four of us wouldn't remain close, that, you know, we have different lives and separate lives. And the real irony here is how close we've become in the last week. And the stories that I've heard and just things in her life, I had no idea. That just bring me in awe of her. I knew a lot of it. I knew about her difficult childhood. I could only imagine what it was like having me when she was 19 years old, raising me, raising the family. You know, I mean, I look at 18-year-olds these days or 19-year-olds and think that they have kids and they're raising them. They're 20 and have 2 kids, or 25 and have 3 kids. And in a time, as Stacy talked about, the women weren't real accepted and just, you know, off in the background being housewives. The divorce was really hard on everybody, but particularly my mother. Thrown into this world. My father wasn't, to say the least, the most supportive person in the world, and certainly not to her. And for her to suddenly be able to pick up her life and find a job and earn a living. By that time, I was gone. Wendy was close. And Doug and Stacy remained with her. But again, that challenge of being a single parent and trying to raise these two was such a godsend when Sid came along and finding such fulfilling work. And I really want to thank Dottie and Dick for what they did for her. It's just amazing how much it changed her life. It just brought so much fulfillment into her life. Her friends were incredible. Got a lot of them, and she always was surrounded by things to do and places to go and her activities and art music, which it was very hard to catch up. My life was very busy, and trying to keep in contact with her in later years, it was interesting. And I, found this with younger folks anyways, that it's gone from telephone calls to scheduled telephone calls, to email, to text. And that's what happened with my mother. She, didn't really have time to talk. She was doing this, she was doing that. Generally, there was time to text. Generally, it was while she was watching MSNBC. Generally, it was complaining about this awful thing that was going on. And, she couldn't possibly survive it. A certain person got elected again. Horrible. But she came to visit me in DC, and I think that was, I worked there, lived there, worked there for a couple of years. I worked for many years, but I think that was a fascinating time for her to be in the heart of DC, and getting tickets for her to go to the Senate House galleries and get a tour of the White House and go to the Smithsonian. I mean, it was just as rich gets for somebody who's into politics. For her life, it was books, politics, and then everything else. Again, I'm so in awe of everything that she did, everything that I've learned here today. It really is amazing. I really want to say a few words about my family. Wendy, I don't know what would happen without you. I mean, you gave up so much to take care of her. None of us possibly could have done it. We didn't have the energy. You were just everything, absolutely everything. I can't thank you enough for what you did and who you are. It's just amazing. Melanie, for all of your support with Wendy. I don't know how you did it. I just don't. Doug and Stacy were so wonderful and so supportive and so caring, and calling to check on her. Stacy providing Josh in her life. And Dallas just became, you always get it. Why would somebody go to Texas of all places? and keep going to Texas office, but how welcome she felt there, the space that she had, and just the joy of her life. And Michael, thank you for being there and being so supportive of that and bringing her into your family as well. And I got to thank Becky. I mean, she is just the absolute love of my life, supporting me and helping me get through this. And there were some challenging times throughout my life, and I don't know how I would have gotten through it without Becky's support. And I just want to end and thank Rabbi. I'm blown away how in a mere 4.5-hour conversation yesterday, you had the patience and the tenacity to listen to our story. And I'm amazed how you coalesced that information and brought it to us. The amount of support that you've given us and being there for us and your kind words, and softness and gentleness, I'll never forget. Thank you. And thank you everybody for coming. It means a lot.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll now hear from Wendy Flax.
All right, I'm gonna do my best to get through this. Okay. Find things beautiful as much as you can. Most people find too little. A quote from Vincent van Gogh, of course, an artist. As many of you know, during COVID, I was given a very special gift. And that gift was to become my mother's caregiver. Well, I also became her librarian. So I will tell you, I'm not sure which job was harder. It taught me many things, and patience was probably the #1 thing that I learned. Oh, cancel all my appointments. They're going to impeach him. I'm staying home for the next 2 weeks. It doesn't happen quite that fast. I don't want to talk about it. I'm just telling you it's going to happen. And when her shoulder went out as the librarian, I need you to pick thin, skinny books that are historical fiction by authors that I like. Nope, I've changed my mind. I want banned books. Nope, I changed my mind. I want Jewish authors that have written Jewish historical books. And on we go. I hope I was a good librarian to you, Mom. It was a challenge. After my stepfather passed away, my mother insisted on calling me every single day. She said, I have no one that is connected to me anymore. So you could always tell what was going on in her life, because sometimes the phone call was hi, and then it was another hour of nothing to talk about, but politics and books. Or, hey, I just called, are you okay? Okay, goodbye. And that was the end of our conversation. I'll talk to you next week. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And her love of travel then began. And books helped her travel, even when things were tough. And by being able to take her to doctor's appointments, I don't think you guys understand. Yes, it was a challenge. But we would sit and talk about life. And that's when I learned about the Zephyr train that she came on and her family and things that happened. And one day we were sitting in the doctor's office and she's like, all right, Google my family and let's see if I have any relatives that are still alive. And that's when we discovered that her mother and father were not born with the names that she grew up thinking that their names were. And she's like, this can't be possible. Surprise, it was possible. Oops, they might impeach. We gotta go. Get me home. And I know she always wanted a woman president, and Mom, I'm sorry, that hadn't happened yet in your life. And I know there's people out there that are very crafty and artistic. Nope, we're just gonna read books. That's what we're gonna do. When she retired, she also took a job working at the Tattered Cover. And as you can all guess, it didn't go very well because she would get her paycheck and it would be zero or minus something because she had bought too many books again. And we decided that maybe that wasn't the safest place for her. And then tennis would come on, and she'd say, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to give up MSNBC and CNN this week. Tennis is on. Nope, I can't watch tennis because it's distracting me from my books." And then there's the time when she moved into her condo. We each took a grocery cart down to the basement to our cars and loaded them up. And we couldn't fit both grocery carts into the elevator. So I said, "Mom, you go up. I'll wait for the next one." And I push the button for her to go up, and the button comes back down for me to get on, and she's standing there with the grocery cart. "Did you get off at your floor, Mom?" "Oh, yeah, I don't know what button I hit." Fortunately, she eventually did learn how the buttons worked in her condo and was able to get up and down. But that grocery cart experience was something that she and I laughed about all the time. But Mom, what I really want to say to you is thank you for being my mom. And thank you for letting me take care of you and loving you. I'm going to miss you every day, Mom. But I'm so glad you're no longer in pain. But thank you.
Thank you to the children for sharing such beautiful memories and reflections. So we know that that Jackie was a firecracker. Learned that her favorite color was red. The car she always wanted was a red Mini Cooper. A firecracker, a flame. You might remember the beginning of her biographical sketch mentioned when Jackie was born on the Hebrew calendar. It was Hanukkah. It was the festival of lights. She was a light. She had a flame that burned. Firecracker. Her life was about light, about illumination, enlightenment, learning, sharing her light with others, bringing light, goodness into the world, making the world better. Very appropriate that she was a Hanukkah baby, because she spread light in her 88 years. The story of Hanukkah is a late story in terms of the formative legends of our people. It's a much more modern story. It's not even in the Bible. The meaning of Hanukkah, in many ways, is about people. It's about the Jewish people, which Jackie always felt a connection to and deep concern for up until the very end, and the horrific experiences that our people is struggling with right now. She cared about the Jewish people, and more universally, she cared about people and about building relationships with people. Hanukkah is also about education, enlightenment. More specifically, in Hebrew, the word for education comes from the same root as the word for Hanukkah. The word is chinuch, from the same chet nun kaf, Hanukkah, chinuch. And what's the actual root meaning for both? dedication, to dedicate something, to have a focus. In the story of Hanukkah, it was about rededicating the temple, restoring something to its glory. We also go through life finding new glory that has not yet been allowed to flourish. And this was very important to Jackie in her looking towards greater empowerment of women in the public sphere, in the workforce, in political office. Dedication, education. When we educate, we're dedicating not only the material by placing knowledge into a vessel who ideally receives it with joy and gratitude. It's like lighting another candle. When someone spreads with love and enthusiasm their passion for an idea, a concept, a set of facts, of knowledge, to mold someone else, to dedicate them to a life of meaning and purpose, and to express one's own dedication in doing so, to light another. In many ways, Jackie was the shamash, the candle that lights the other candles at Hanukkah. So it's about spreading light to people. And the Hanukkah story doesn't have God playing an explicit role. It's about people taking matters into their hands and righting the wrongs that they see around them, lighting those candles, not sitting around and waiting for a miracle. That whole idea of lighting the candle without having enough oil for more than a day. Well, why did they even bother lighting? Because in that tale, the people who were rededicating the temple believed that their actions mattered, just as Jackie did. They believed in their power and in the power of people. Each candle matters. Each day that a candle might burn, whether it's for 1 or 8, each day matters, each moment matters. Jackie knew how to be present in the moment in which she found herself with the person whom she was spending time in that moment, whether it was a child, a grandchild, a childhood friend, or someone she met at a class or was sitting next to in a waiting room. Everyone was a candle whom she could light with her light. She believed in learning, in each person's voice, and in lifelong education. And the learning spanned a wide range of modes. Politics. There were also life lessons. Doug remembers the lesson that his mother impressed upon him, not to judge a book by its cover. Get to know people. Learn people's story. See them for who they are. Let them be who they are. We can light someone else's candle, but the flame is going to express itself based upon the vessel that receives it. That's interdependence. We play a role in each other's lives while celebrating the dignity of each human being. Jackie ultimately celebrated her own independence She said, I'm not going to live with somebody else again. But at the same time, she wanted companionship. She was a people person. She valued her independence, and she cared about being with people. Other lessons are that she herself never learned to swim, but knew that it mattered to teach her children, to make sure that they learned. She made sure that they learned how to swim. It was part of their independence to have more than she had. She might not have known, but in the Mishnah, discussion of Jewish law that was codified in around the year 220, the Common Era, there's a discussion about what are the obligations that a parent has to their children. And on a short list, help them find a job, help them find a spouse. On the short list is teach them to swim. It matters. Jackie was fulfilling ancient rabbinic dicta. There was a lot of joking yesterday about Jackie's terrible sense of direction. Couldn't find her way out of a paper bag. She would call from New York to her children here. How do I get to such and such? Well, isn't there anyone you can ask? No. In the most populated city in the Western, in the United States, and she couldn't find her way. But she was a light, and light can help us find a way. And how do we get out of a place when we don't know where we're going? Well, we can ask others. We can put on a light. But the key is back to interdependence, that sense that we can get out together. We can do it together. That was how Jackie lived. She never gave up on people. And maybe it was only when there was a clear route and not the danger of her getting lost, but she did love walks. Dina recalls that Jackie made her feel welcome and a part of the family. She said the moment we met, she made sure my mom and I were invited to Thanksgiving at Wendy and Melanie's. She made my mom feel welcome. She always kissed me, hello and goodbye. And Dina remembers walking with Jackie in the Susan Komen Walk for Cancer. Jackie, Wendy, and Melanie. So she walked through life with her light, caring about people. So the Hanukkah story is a battle against the Greeks and their idol worship and their paganism. But ultimately, for much of the world, including the Jewish world, we embraced many of the values that came from the Greeks. We made them our own, but one of those was democracy. There's one democracy in the Middle East, the Jewish state. It represents a melding of commitment to the Jewish people, ancient Jewish values, universal values, including democracy, honoring the equality of all citizens, the ability for people to have a voice. We honored that when we light the Hanukkah candles. Jackie honored that in her commitment to people, to politics, to equality, to justice. I'm going to make a pun on just Jackie, which I didn't learn about last night. It's not just Jackie, but just Jackie, justice, someone who was committed to justice. Our Torah teaches us, tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice you shall pursue. It's said twice because of the urgency of it. And that was how Jackie lived. And so here we are on one of the most appropriate days for Jackie's burial. I brought a prop. I usually don't bring props. Today is Super Tuesday. We live in a state where you can mail it in and your vote can be all taken care of weeks before. I grew up in New York. I'm old school. Before I make my way over to Jeff's, people will gather to continue to remember and console the mourners. I live near here, so my drop-off spot is nearby. I'm going to honor Jackie by casting a vote today. And I encourage us to remember that we will honor Jackie whenever we vote. Life is a vote, an election, a choosing. Our tradition says, "Ubacharta b'chaim," you shall choose life. Jackie chose life. She chose it with tenacity. She chose it with dignity. She chose it with passion. She chose it with commitment to others, to teach, to inspire, to share her love and her enthusiasm. She did it with kindness and gratitude. May we continue to choose life in honor of Jackie, to choose justice, to choose kindness, to choose gratitude, to choose light. And in these ways, Jackie's memory will be a blessing. We proceed now to the lowering of the casket into the earth as we bid farewell to this light, knowing that it will endure even as we lay Jackie's body to rest. Al makomo, al makoma, tavo v'shalom. May Jackie go unto God in peace. Hatzor Tamim, the perfect rock whose work we perceive, reveals a faithful God. True, upright, and honest. The rock is perfect in every way. Dare we ask God to account for any deed? Hashalit b'mata uvma'al. God rules below and on high, causing death, giving life. Morid sha'ol v'ya'al, bringing down to the grave, but raising up as well. Hatzor Tamim, the rock is inscrutable. Dare we question Mata Aseh, what have you done? When God's every word comes to be immediately. Hatzor Tamim, the rock is unfathomable, but just and patient and malei rachamim, filled with compassion. God, have pity for parents and children. Ki lecha adon haslichot v'harachamim, as forgiveness and compassion are yours. You are just, Adonai, in the giving and in the taking. In your hand is pikton kol ruchot, the essence of all spirit. You would never permit the impact we made to fade. So consider us keenly. Ki lecha adon harachamim v'haslichot, for you are the master of compassion and forgiveness. Adam im ben shana yehiyeh, were a mortal to live but a single year or even 1,000. Kalo haya yehiyeh, it would not seem enough. Baruch dayan ha'emet, we therefore praise the judge of truth, who takes but who also gives life. We know, Adonai, that your discretion is beyond us. We know, Eternal One, that your word is good, but your judgments at times puzzle us. And though we may brood over harsh realities, Sadikata, we place our trust in your righteousness and accept our lot, our loss, and the love that remains with us forever. Rachem al pleitat tzon yadecha. Have mercy upon us and strengthen us to maintain our courage at this time of sorrow. Adonai Natan, the Eternal has given. Adonai lakach, and the Eternal has taken. Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. May the name of the Eternal be blessed. In a moment, after the materials here are removed, we'll be having the mourners come forward with a shovel in order to lay earth on top of the casket that holds Jackie's body. This is considered the final act of kindness the returning of Jackie to the earth, covering her with earth, with the nutritive soil that is the source of life. I like to think of it as a blanket that we lay atop one whom we tuck in for her eternal rest. The mourners will be holding the shovel in an upside down fashion for the first offering of earth. Each one holds it upside down, a little bit of hesitancy, and an indication that we're engaging in an act that is different from the regular use of the shovel. They'll then do 2 more offerings of earth in the usual manner, returning the shovel to the pile of earth for the next mourner to pick it up and do the same. After they've had the chance to do it, others who wish may come forward, depending on how much earth we have left. Have everyone return to their seats. Yashov ha'afar al haaretz k'shahaya, v'haruach tashuv el Elohim asher netanah. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. May Jackie's soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal. Send comfort, Eternal One, to those who mourn, grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. Let us say amen. Our last act of kindness to Jackie, after our having laid her body to rest, is to pray for the eternal nature of her essence, her soul, as we ask for God to bestow kindness upon her, that her soul rest eternally in peace. We do this with the prayer El Malei Rachamim. I invite you to rise as we take in these words, praying for Jackie's eternity. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromi, Amse Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShekhinah, B'ma'alot Kedoshim U'Torim, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת יעקב בת אשל וחנה שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה. אנא בעל הרחמים מסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר אמן. El Malay Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Jackie Greenberg, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our beloved Jackie find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated for a moment. We now shift our attention from taking to heart the idea that we have bestowed our kindness upon Jackie. We have buried her and asked for the care of her eternal soul with dignity. We have done her kindness. And as we prepare to leave here, we shift our attention now completely to our mourners as we begin to console them as they begin their journey of mourning. That journey begins with them rising and standing in place before they even take a step. And that rising is for the reciting of Kaddish, the mourner's Kaddish, the declaration of holiness of God's eternal great nature, recognizing God as the source of life, because the mourners will cling to life in memory of their beloved Jackie. And the Kaddish will help them return to life as they make their way with the comfort of these words and with the comfort that we who need to be here as they say them. This is a communal prayer. We need to be here to support them and offer them our comfort and consolation as they say these words through their journey of mourning, receiving comfort, and the final prayer of the Kaddish, peace. Mourners, please rise. Others, I invite you to rise as we support the mourners as they recite Kaddish Yatom. Mourners, Yit Gadal, Yit Gadash, Shemei Rabbah, Amen. V'alma Divrach, V'lite, V'yamut Malchute, V'chayechon, U'yomechon, U'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, U'vizman Kariv, V'imru. Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam Olamei Almaya. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitba'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yitaleh, V'yithalal. Shemei Dekudesha B'richu. Ve'ela Nimko Birkata V'shirata Tushbakata V'nefamata Da'miran V'yalma V'yikru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimroman Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. May the one who makes it peaceful in the heights make peace for us, for all the people Israel, and for all who dwell on earth. And we say, Amen. Be seated. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Imru. Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. We're about to leave this place. The mourners are about to take their first steps forward together into the journey of mourning. We will support them and comfort them as they take these steps. We have a sacred task, all of us who are not mourners. We are going to, in a moment, we're going to form two lines stretching from here towards the street. We're making a gauntlet, an aisle through which the mourners will walk. We surround them with walls of love. And as they walk through, we will wish to them words that you'll repeat after me, but I'll share them with you now. First, traditional Jewish words of comfort. Hamakom yenachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. Hamakom means the place. It's a euphemism for the divine, ever-present source of comfort. God is in this place, this holy place. As they begin their journey, the mourners take God with them to the places where they go. God will always be in the place where they need comfort, and so we refer to the Comforter as the ever-present place, the ever-present source of comfort. May God grant comfort to you, along with all those who have mourned for the greatest destructions and calamities that have befallen our people. Our mourners are feeling that degree of loss in this moment, and they also remember that they are part of a people that has suffered as individuals and collectively as a nation. We have had great losses, but we have supported each other and received God's comfort, and we have risen to life anew, as will they. All those consoling the mourners, please come over here, and we'll form two lines away from the grave towards the street. Find a partner, face directly across, face to face, across from somebody, so that we have an even number of people on each side. Right here, one line of people to my right, one line of people to my left. Just make our way so that we have this contained space of loving support for our mourners. Mourners, please rise. Come with me. So there's repeat after me. Akom, Menachem, Etchem, B'toch sha'ar avelei Tzion Yerushalayim. Hamakom Menachem Etchem B'toch avelei Tzion.